Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be here with you. My name is Aletha De Witt, and in this talk, we're shifting focus to the African continent, looking at where we stand with geodesy, what frameworks guide us, and where we can go next. We'll talk about infrastructure, policy, and partnerships, but more than that, we'll look at how Africa can strengthen its role in the global geodetic supply chain. Before we zoom into the continent, though, let's take a step back and look at the global picture, because Africa's geodetic future is deeply connected to global commitments, global systems, and global responsibilities. Let's start right at the top with the UN-level commitment. In 2015, the United Nations General Assembly adopted a resolution on the Global Geodetic Reference Frame, recognizing for the first time geodesy as critical global infrastructure. This resolution called on all countries, including those in Africa, to strengthen their national geodetic capacity and contribute to a globally coordinated system. Now, following the resolution, the UN didn't just leave it as a statement. They put structures in place to make this real. That's where the UN Global Geodetic Center of Excellence, or the UN GGCE, comes in. It was established to help coordinate this global effort and ensure that all countries, including developing ones, have a voice in building and sustaining the global geodetic reference frame. And earlier this year, they launched their first joint development plan for global geodesy, a roadmap for how we strengthen the global geodetic supply chain, from data provision to infrastructure, governance, and partnerships. And Africa has a major role to play in this, and that's what leads us to the next slide. Now let's talk about GEGOS, the Global Geodetic Observing System, which is the observing arm of the International Association of Geodesy. So GEGOS brings together all space geodetic techniques, their services and stakeholders to ensure we have a globally coordinated geodetic infrastructure. It's basically what connects the dots between the different techniques and between the different regions of the world. We already have regional affiliates like GEGOS Japan, GEGOS Iber-Atlantic, and also a GEGOS affiliate representing Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. And the question we're now asking is, shouldn't Africa have one too? That's part of what I want to explore with you today. So, do we need a GEGOS Africa? I mean, it's a fair question, as Africa is often only seen as a recipient in global science. But we also know that building a strong, coordinated geodetic network in Africa is essential for global geodesy. We know we need to align efforts, raise visibility, and make sure Africa contributes as a full partner, not just a participant. But does that mean we need a GEGOS Africa? And the answer is absolutely, yes we do. I mean, Africa is at a critical juncture, and while we have immense potential to contribute to the global geodetic supply chain, we are also falling behind due to infrastructure gaps and a shortage of expertise. I believe that GEGOS Africa will bring us together by coordinating efforts across the continent, addressing infrastructure needs, building capacity, and enabling Africa to play a crucial role in global geodesy as both a contributor and a beneficiary of geodetic data. Okay, so now that we've established why GEGOS Africa is needed, let's talk about the current reality. This map shows all the VLBI, SLR, GNSS, and DORA stations that contributed to the ITRF 2020, the latest international terrestrial reference frame. And what jumps out immediately is the imbalance. There are major infrastructure gaps, especially across Africa. Our continent is vastly underrepresented in the global network that underpins the reference frame used for everything from satellite navigation to climate monitoring. Now, to reach millimeter-level accuracy in global reference frames, GEGOS relies on what are called core sites, locations that co-locate all four space geodetic techniques. And right now, Africa has just one of these core geodetic sites. So this is the Hartbeespoort site in South Africa, currently the only GEGOS core site on the entire continent. One site on a continent this vast, this geographically important, and this strategically located. That's simply not enough. If we want Africa to truly contribute to global geodesy at the level that's needed, we need to change that. So Africa's underrepresentation also extends to the celestial reference frame, and this map shows the VLBI stations that contributed to the ICRF3, and again, there's just one station in Africa. Also, simulations have shown that adding more VLBI stations in Africa would significantly boost the accuracy and the stability of the International Celestial Reference Frame, and by extension also improve the ITRF and the Earth orientation parameters. So why does this all matter? And it's because Africa's lack of geodetic infrastructure isn't just a local issue, it affects the entire global geodesy system. Africa is essential to the global geodetic supply chain. Its vast landmass helps balance station distribution and improve data accuracy. Its unique geophysical environments, from deserts to tectonic boundaries, provide vital data that the world can't get anywhere else. Without geodetic data from Africa, global satellite systems, navigation, climate models, and disaster monitoring all suffer from blind spots. So investing in Africa's geodesy isn't charity, it's global necessity. Now, at the same time, Africa faces urgent and unique development challenges of its own, and geodesy has a key role to play in addressing them. The continent's population is projected to double to around 2.5 billion by 2050, with many African cities being among the fastest growing in the world. This kind of rapid growth puts huge pressure on infrastructure, housing, water, and transport systems. And if we want that growth to be sustainable and resilient, we need geodetic data to guide it. Add to this sea level rise, which threatens densely populated coastlines in West, Central, and Southern Africa, many of which have limited resources or adaptation plans in place. We also face deforestation, drought, and increasing stress on water resources. So strengthening geodesy in Africa isn't just about contributing to global science, it's also about enabling local solutions to the continent's most pressing environmental and development risks. But what exactly do we mean by a lack of geodetic infrastructure? In reality, the issue is more complex than simply having insufficient infrastructure. Now, to explore these challenges more deeply, the Department of Science, Technology and Innovation in South Africa, together with GGOS and the UN GGCE, hosted a session titled Africa Rising, Shaping Our Common Future Through Geodesy at the UN Science Summit in New York in September 2024. This Geodesy Day brought together African and global experts, and during the session, we identified several key challenges currently facing geodesy across the continent, which we will explore in the next slides. So when we talk about a lack of geodetic infrastructure, what do we actually mean? Well, it's not just that Africa doesn't have enough stations. The problem is more complex. In many cases, the infrastructure is fragmented, outdated, or underutilized. It's there, but it's not working as part of a coordinated modern system. Many countries simply don't have comprehensive, publicly accessible geodetic networks. Some GNSS stations exist, yes, but many are privately owned and data is locked away. That means they can't contribute to national development or to global geodetic products like the ITRF. We also see outdated equipment or stations that were installed but never maintained, and in some places there are no continuously operating reference stations at all. Then we face a second challenge, limited access to geodetic data, and when data is available, it's often outdated. There are very few national repositories. There's little data sharing, and many data sets are decades old, collected with obsolete methods. Even when modern data is available, inconsistent standards and fragmented institutional ownership means the quality is uneven. Many countries simply don't have the systems or the expertise to manage and process this data effectively. And of course, behind all of this are two underlying issues: limited funding and a shortage of trained professionals. Training opportunities are few and far between. There are significant knowledge gaps in both the public and private sectors, and without people, without capacity, none of this infrastructure can be developed or sustained. But the most pressing issue we've identified isn't technical at all. It's basically the lack of cooperation or collaboration between African countries. A prime example of this is the AFREF project, which aims to build a common reference frame for Africa. However, the project has faced significant challenges due to difficulties in securing contributions from various countries. Adding to this, there is also no Pan-African institute or organization dedicated to geodesy, and this brings me back to the need for a GGOS Africa. So, what progress have we made so far? Well, the first and perhaps most important step has already happened, recognizing the need. there's now clear recognition that Africa needs a Pan-African institute or organization for geodesy. And the progress starts right here in South Africa. The Department of Science, Technology and Innovation in South Africa has taken the lead in establishing a national geodesy working group, which is now in progress. This is a critical first step, creating a formal structure to coordinate geodetic efforts nationally, align with international frameworks, and then support the broader GEGOS Africa vision from the ground up. And to support this effort, several major role players in South Africa are already working together. There are ongoing discussions between key institutions, including those responsible for science policy, space science, radio astronomy, space geodesy, land reform, and national mapping, to establish a coordinated national structure for geodesy. Each of these brings something essential to the table, and this kind of collaboration is exactly how we move from fragmented initiatives to a unified national and eventually continental approach to geodesy. And to move from recognition to action, a coordinated proposal was developed within government, led by the Department of Science, Technology and Innovation, to strengthen South Africa's geodetic capacity and global engagement. At its core is the formation of a national geodesy working group to align and coordinate geodetic activities across all key sectors. The proposal sets out 5 clear objectives: formalize South Africa's role in global geodesy governance, establish a national coordination framework for geodesy, develop long-term funding strategies for infrastructure and capacity, create structured support for human capital development, and lead the formation of GEGOS Africa as a regional coordination entity. This initiative has received strong international backing, including letters of support from the UNGGCE, the IAG, and also GEGOS. And importantly, GEGOS Africa isn't just a regional idea. GEGOS Africa is already part of the official GEGOS implementation plan, with the objective of establishing it by the end of 2025. So the foundation is there and the momentum is growing. And of course, there's also already been a series of key events that's been instrumental in driving this effort forward, bringing the right people to the table, raising the visibility of geodesy across the continent, and demonstrating that coordinated action isn't just possible, it's already underway. So I've already mentioned the Geodesy Day that we held during the UN Science Summit in New York last year, and then in addition, we also hosted a dedicated geodesy session at the African Astronomical Society Conference this past March in Johannesburg in South Africa, and this session really helped to bring geodesy into the broader science dialogues across Africa. And then more recently, in May this year, the UNGGCE held a geodesy capacity development workshop for Africa in Nairobi in Kenya. And this event brought together experts from around 28 African countries to focus on transitioning to modern geospatial reference systems and also strengthening national geodetic capabilities. But just as importantly, this workshop also gave a real push to continental coordination, and it really helped lay the groundwork for GEGOS Africa by bringing key stakeholders into the same room and building momentum for the next steps. So a critical part of building GEGOS Africa is collaboration. We know we can't do this alone, but we also know that we don't need to start from scratch. And one of the most relevant examples we can learn from is the SKA Africa program, which is part of the Square Kilometre Array, the world's largest radio telescope currently being built in South Africa. Now, the SKA Africa program has already driven major investment in both infrastructure and human capacity across its African partner countries, these countries including Ghana, Kenya, Namibia, Botswana, Zambia, Mozambique, and Madagascar. And it shows what's possible when political commitment, technical expertise, and international partnerships all align. But the SKA Africa program isn't just a model, it's also an opportunity. Because by building on the infrastructure, networks, and relationships already in place for astronomy, we have a real opportunity here to integrate geodesy more effectively and efficiently across the continent. And in fact, this work has already begun. Through the SKA's capacity development programs, partner countries have already received training not only in astronomy, but also in geodesy. And we're seeing rollouts of high-performance computing infrastructure, shared astronomy and geodesy training platforms, and even co-location of geodetic and astronomical instruments. And this is all laying the groundwork for a more integrated scientific ecosystem in Africa. And then as part of our broader strategy, South Africa has also developed the self-contained geodetic GNSS reference stations, which are essentially purpose-built for deployment in remote or under-resourced areas. So each of these units is solar-powered and fully self-sufficient, equipped with a weather station and a cellular communication. And it also allows the integration of additional geodetic or atmospheric instruments. And these systems are already being rolled out in some of the SKA Africa partner countries, and they are really ideal solutions for rapidly expanding Africa's geodetic infrastructure in strategic locations. And then finally, one of the most critical steps for building GEGOS Africa is securing sustainable funding. We've started exploring several avenues, and I'm happy to share that our application to the Africa-UK Physics Partnership was successful. So this support will help us strengthen coordination, invest in infrastructure, and expand training programs, which will be laying a strong foundation for geodetic development across the continent. So through the Africa-UK Physics Partnership, we've received the seed funding from the UK Science and Technology Facilities Council for our project that started in February this year and will run up to February 2027. And this project really brings together an amazing team of partners, which includes the University of Manchester in the UK, in South Africa, the Department of Science, Technology and Innovation, and the South African Radio Astronomy Observatory, also the Technical University of Kenya, and then national agencies in Ghana, Uganda, and also the UNGGCE. So this support will really give us a lot of momentum and, of course, the platform to build something truly transformative for geodesy in Africa. So our vision with this project is ultimately to get GEGOS Africa off the ground, to support both new and existing geodetic initiatives throughout Africa, and thereby promoting developments at global, regional and national levels. GEGOS Africa itself will not be a replacement for ongoing initiatives like AFREF, but instead a forum to network, unify and create common goals in advancing geodesy initiatives across the continent. Our goals include assessing Africa's geodetic infrastructure and resources, developing strategic infrastructure plans using simulations, training early career African geodesists, and establishing GEGOS Africa, but also raising awareness among policymakers about the role of geodesy in sustainable development. So we've got a strong foundation, growing support and clear momentum, and if you'd like to follow or contribute to the initiative, we are in the process of building a project website. It's still partially under construction, but everybody is welcome to collaborate. And then in closing, we call on all African governments, institutions and partners to join this effort. Together we can build a geodetic infrastructure that not only strengthens Africa's position globally, but also addresses the continent's unique challenges. Let's seize this opportunity and make GEGOS Africa a reality, because Africa's future in geodesy is not just needed, it's essential. And that brings me to the end of this presentation. Thank you all very much, and I'm happy to take any questions or comments.